Hello guys, and welcome back again to Rage Gaming and a new Shadow of the Erdtree video. Today I'm back for more fun, useful, or just interesting things you might not have known about in this DLC. This time we also get to feature a few of the comments of the first video though, so a big thank you to everyone who made suggestions that we can now highlight. So with that said, let's just begin. Starting with a really cool one, I'm really glad this exists. Something that I talked about going into the DLC before any of us knew really anything was the topic of these items, the crystal darts. The idea behind these throwing knives is to be able to deal magic damage to enemies, but also constructs in particular, golems and so on. Anything of that nature, when you throw like 4 or 5 of these darts at them, it will trigger something within them. They get this unique animation where there's these like blue bubbles above their head. The result is that they will now attack their allies. So take the imps in any of the catacombs, you can turn them against each other. That's just really effective and helpful when you're dealing with a pack of these things because they're really annoying in that case. But it goes beyond that. The giant stone golems, like on the massive bridges in certain areas, especially when there's multiple of them, having them turn against each other makes those scenarios so much easier. So going into the DLC, I said this item, as well as a few others, have interesting effects with the enemies we have in the original game. There's a chance that they'll work again in the DLC with new enemy types. And it turns out that was true. Thank you to Miquella Messmer for letting us know about this one. It's the golems in the forges, and I guess that's officially what they are. They are forge golems. Because as it turns out, these guys are officially vulnerable to crystal darts. This means they'll attack other golems, and horribly, it also means they attack the fire slimes. Which, if you're unaware, in the first episode, we had a look at the fact that they seem to have a happy relationship. In not one, but multiple, you can find them petting them. But still, they are sort of stone golems, and therefore crystal darts work on them. Which does mean you can make them kill each other, and also their pets. Pretty messed up, but a pretty cool detail and actually quite handy if they're giving you trouble. So thank you for that, Michael. Great spot. Next up, we have a little look at a specific NPC. There's that Church of the Fingers, the cathedral, and a whole storyline that ends in a missable optional boss. The main centerpiece of that is the guy sat on the chair, not the lady sat on the side in the dark armor. Jolan's an interesting character. She's not the most talkative, and she's definitely not the most friendly. I think we're getting on fine. As part of this quest line, you can fight her sister, ultimately getting the Claws of Night, and then also you can fight Jolan herself and get her sword, or you can choose to do something else and get her as a summon. But what does Jolan and her sister, I guess, look like beneath the armor? Well, thanks to Solovsky on Twitter, someone we follow for a couple of years now, we get to see what lies under the mask. And as you can see, she's got a kind of pale, pallid complexion and bright yellow eyes. Honestly, she didn't need to wear the helmet. I think she looks even cooler like this. But just like Leather, there's something really cool about hiding their appearance and then having it revealed in this way. If not for data miners and those messing with the files of the game, we wouldn't be able to see this normally. So I'd really recommend Solovsky's Twitter as always. They're posting great stuff like this and little surprising looks, stuff within the game and other games that are well worth seeing. But yeah, that's what Jolan looks like underneath the helmet. Next up, a very good tip to do with your mohg and Margit shackle items. Another topic that I talked about actually as we were going into the DLC. What's cool about these items is their extra use. You're meant to use them in the mohg Margit fights to hold them down and get some free DPS, but the effect of them seems to have an AoE single tick of damage. Or at least some kind of interaction, whether it does damage or not. How we know that is that in the old catacombs, we had those traps with the pillars. You could use one of these shackles and it would activate or deactivate them like you hit them, which is an incredibly useful thing. But it also worked on illusion walls, which normally you'd need to hit or roll into, so, you know, an interaction with them. Through that logic, I did speculate that the shackles might have something useful of that nature in the DLC, and as it turns out, again, yeah, there is something. Thanks to Piggy Rocket in the comments of last time, we now know that the sealed spirit springs that you normally have to go find the seal and then break it by hitting it can be broken or unsealed without ever going near there. You just go to the direct spirit spring itself that's currently sealed and then use one of the different shackles. A big AoE will occur and everything within that range will be interacted with. Therefore, it will break the seal, it would seem. So you don't have to go look for it. You can just pull out a seal at any point and instantly unseal them, saving you some time every time you come across a sealed spirit spring. Honestly, very useful, very cool, and easy to do. So great tip there, Piggy Rocket. Next up, a very cool look at Bayle. Bayle is an incredible dragon, and lore-wise, just a jerk. Outside of the greatest NPC and voice actor ever known hating his guts, Bayle actually brings something from the original game with him into the DLC. And that is not one, but 2 of Placidusax's severed heads. If you didn't have the time in the middle of the fight to stop and look at him, which might be understandable, there are 2 Placidusax heads kind of chomping and biting at his neck. We can get a good look at them thanks to this video by Bonfire VN, who took the model of Bayle and just kind of looked at different details and aspects of it. Bonfire has actually had a look at a bunch of characters and NPCs in the DLC, so I would strongly recommend you check out the channel. In any case, it allows us to get a bird's eye view look at Bayle's body, where we can clearly see the 2 Placidusax heads. One is biting on the neck just below the actual head, and then the other is a bit further down on the neck on the right side. Obviously, we knew Placidusax was missing multiple heads, but I didn't expect we'd find some in the DLC. Obviously, the fight was pretty intense. The fact that Bayle's missing a whole leg and has to use its tail to balance is a really cool detail with the way it moves. It looks like the actual asset of the 2 Placidusax heads is a separate thing, and Bonfire VN was able to separate them and have a look directly at them. There's nothing too much to learn from that, other than the fact that they look very decayed and very burned, compared to even Placidusax in his very degenerated form we find. But yeah, surprise cameo appearance of Placidusax in the Bayle fight, pretty damn cool. Okay, so for our next thing, we have something just kind of interesting and something that we're going to get some speculation from, I imagine. There's 2 details to do with not this location, the Shaman Village, but actually down here in the Bonnie Village. Because the Bonnie Village has become that living jar thing, and the jail that's very close to the Bonnie Jail. But just north of there is a statue where you can get a gesture. This unlocks this region, the Hinterlands, and ultimately leads to the Shaman Village. The 2 things seem to be connected intentionally, and there's a bit of lore theory around it, so I wanted to see what you guys make of this. But what got me thinking about it and talking about it today was actually a comment from one of our viewers, from Luis Jimenez, I hope I pronounced that right, talking about actually a snake skin found in the Bonnie Village, and we're going to look at that. But obviously he referenced the location being next to the Oh Mother gesture statue. So it's important that first we start here at the Shaman Village and this very important statue, because this statue is identical to the one that you find in the Bonnie Village and where you get the Oh Mother gesture. This is not a unique statue, as it turns out. So let's go look at the other one. What draws you over here is this very strange looking tree. And at the bottom, where there would be that kind of hollowed out heart, is an identical statue. It's literally the same as the other one, except for one key difference. There's no head. Like the Marika statues that are headless around the DLC, it is not done in an unintentional way. But there's theories around why this statue is here as well. And with the tree, I think it's quite on the nose. I think the Bonnie Village was formerly also a Shaman Village. I just don't know why it was converted to the Bonnie Village and why it was destroyed in this way in any case. But it does seem to me that Marika existed here before everything happened with the Golden Order and the Purge. Obviously the Crucible as a faction existed at that time, so maybe the Crucible actually destroyed the village and turned it into the Bonnie Village at one point, destroying the tree and the statue of the mother. So let me know what you think about that. I think it's a really interesting comparison, but it's not the only reason we're here. As Lewis initially commented, there's a giant snake skin here. When facing the statue, turn west and start walking uphill, just beyond these couple of dead trees. Just over here at the left, behind these bushes, is a giant snake skin. This is definitely intentional. This is referencing something, but what do you guys think? Why is it here? If we continue along the lines of this formerly being a Shaman village, destroyed by the Crucible or whoever, why was a giant snake here? It could have something to do with maybe Messmer, or like Lewis suggests, it actually looks a lot like Rykard's god, the devouring snake from the original game. Just smaller, obviously. I wonder whether that devouring snake came from the Lands of Shadow, eventually being in the region where Rykard takes hold. This is like when it was young and it shed it ages ago, or it's to do with something else entirely. Let me know what you think though. I'm interested to hear the speculation. Right, last up we have one from Josh actually, who let me know there is a unique summon that you can miss that's actually kind of awesome. When you're progressing through the final area of the DLC, you will eventually come across a NPC boss fight. That is of course with Leda and a bunch of the other NPCs through that. Now most of us have interacted with the NPCs, done some of the storylines, and through that you can get help. You can of course summon Ansbach, who's awesome, but you can also summon Thiolier. Both of them can be done together if you progressed either storyline enough, and so that can be very helpful when you're being swarmed by NPCs. But did you know that if you don't do either of their quest lines. The game offers you a unique summon, Sanguine Noble Nataan, who wields 2 Reduvia daggers in power stance. That means he's doing really fast bleed build-up. He has the Shotgun Ash of War. It's the fact that they're quick attacks, and as they're NPCs with basically no poise in this fight, you can interrupt most of them by letting him hit them. That can hold off a lot of their worst moves, their spell casts or whatever, outside of the extra aggro to help distract. Because he's using 2 Reduvia daggers though, there's a lot of extra bleed build-up for regular procs. And if you're using a bleed build and using the talismans and the white mask, that kind of thing, those procs will indeed enhance your DPS like you proc bleed yourself. So he's honestly kind of kick-ass. A really effective, very helpful summon that, you know, maybe most of us will miss because we actually do some of the NPC storylines, especially in the first playthroughs. But yeah, there you have it. A bunch of details you might not have known. I hope that was useful or interesting. And once again, if there's anything you've learned that could fit into a video like this, be sure to drop it in the comments because we might end up talking about it. It's very nice to have new and fresh things to look into finally. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.